friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Megamorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello, and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time, then talk about it every week. Today, finally, we're back to the books. The TV show is done forever, and I forgot, and 1, 2, 3, it's wiped from my memory. Today, we're going to be talking about Megamorphs number 4, Back to Before. It feels weird, honestly. Anyways, we can talk about it. It's just like not jumping back into the main series. But my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden, the predictor of right things. Worship me, I am a seer.
Yeah, we'll get into
that. Brayden, you're subtemporally grounded. You will always find the true timeline.
Oh, no. Oh, you're right. It's just like that thing from the show, or from the book.
It's just like
we've been
that
watching
thing.
the TV show too long.
Yep. We have been watching the TV show too long. This whole time reading this book, they said Drake and Beam, I thought flashlight. Like, they were talking about laser guns, and I was thinking flashlights, and I was like, something's gone horribly wrong. I might have suffered brain damage.
Okay, so before we start our discussion of the book, I have one piece of... So this week, we have just one piece, because it's kind of an amazing piece, from Arjun Krishna on Facebook, who shared with us a song that they wrote, actually, just titled Rachel and Tobias, which has an excellent sample from the TV show.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I did wipe my memory, so I don't remember what scene it's from. Just kidding. It's actually from season 1, episode 3. Which they indicate in the description there, but I recommend everyone listen to it. The link will be in the description for the show. I'm going to splice in a little sample of it right here.
You know, I saw Hawk flying with Mass this morning.
What makes you think it was me?
Something about the way it flew.
Did you ever wish you could just fly away?
Sometimes.
Okay, that is really cute music. Did anybody else get a little bit of Zora's Domain vibe from Ocarina of Time?
I cannot remember the music from there, but that is totally the instrumentation they do use.
It's like, it's really pretty instrumentation. It's got some of the vocals from the TV show going underneath. What a beautiful piece. Aw.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It makes the TV show audio sound good, like somehow better than it did in the actual recording.
It sounds like they acted it better now that there's like music over top of it.
It does. It's almost like, I wonder if they fixed the timing a little bit of like the delivery and of the lines kind of thing. Yeah,
probably.
That's like 80% of acting is just getting like the human reactions right, like timing it so that like you don't look like you're flabbergasted by the fact that other people are talking ever.
Like the weird alien reactions, like ha 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 ha, yes. Now I say my thing.
The cover for this song is actually a really nice picture of Rachel looking down at Tobias. It's an illustration. It looks like a digital painting.
It's acrylic. They say it's acrylic, which is it's gorgeous. This painting is absolutely amazing as well.
So that is was taken from MeEmilee's DeviantArt page. I'll link that as well in the description if you want to check it out. It is a very good painting.
I like it.
All right, let's jump into the summary for this book. It does. Okay, I was going to say earlier, it does feel weird
not going back to a regular.
Yeah, and then going back to this kind of side story. But to be honest, I think it's kind of the perfect book to start back in because it's not just a caper.
Yeah.
I really like this book. But
Yes.
Let's go through it.
Oh, this is my favorite book of all time in the Animorphs series, as you know, is book 33. This is my second favorite book. I think this might beat out Dork-Bajir Chronicles in terms of which one I like better. But those three are my golden trio, and I'm just so happy that we're finally at Megamorphs 4, Back to Before. I don't know if we've introed this book. It's the last of the Megamorphs. I was nervous when we watched the TV show and there was an episode that was inspired by this book. Spoiler alert, it is not at all similar. This book is so much better. Like, the story isn't even similar. the only thing you got in there was that it's like a different reality and maybe a time travel thing. What are you talking about? Inspired by.
Also, Brayden, I think, was the one who said, like, I think this book will be based on the TV show. And it's like, I mean, I'm sure, obviously, it was the other way around. It did say that.
I said the other way around.
Yeah, I think he did say the other way around. That's why he is a seer.
I said it would be like that. Or maybe, I don't think I said one was based off the other. I just said it will be like that.
For sure. And, like, it totally is like that, but just a lot better than the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So much better.
Anyways.
We start the book off in the middle of a fight scene. It's not like, oh, my name is Jake and he leads you in. It's the middle of a fight scene, which we've had a couple of times before, but not often. Spoiler alert, we get them a little bit more often now that we're in the later books, and I love it. I love it. So, it's a horrible fight scene. Jake's lost a leg. Tobias is crumpled and stunned. Marco had to demorph because his battle morph is a gorilla and he's always getting disemboweled. They can hear a controller just asking for help, just like kind of pleading into the air, help me please, I'm so cold. The Yeerk can't escape this controller's head because some tiger just clawed up the ears and he can't escape it.
Mm-hmm. Gross.
And he asks Jake for a blanket. He's like, Anzalite, please give me a blanket. Are you happy? And Jake's like, no, I'm not happy. And they leave, listening to the Yeerk's pitiful cries. Then Jake has a horrible time just thinking about what a horrible day this was. And who shows up but our old good wrinkled friend, the Drode. Bum, bum. He was here in the last Megamorphs. I think that was the last time we saw him, was Megamorphs 3, actually.
What was Megamorphs 3 about? I don't even remember.
Megamorphs 3 was also time travel, which makes 3 out of 4 Megamorphs time travel. Megamorphs 3 was when Cassie had a slave and Melissa was a part of the team. And then they were like, oh, wait, everything is fucked up. The only video game we have is Pong. Like, oh no, we done dicked up the world. Let's go fix it. Yeah, this is a much better time travel book. Megamorphs 4, terrible time. Drode shows up. Hey, Jakey boy, what would you do if you could turn it all back? If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, would you want to stay? And Jake's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm just going to read out, I screenshotted this while I was reading it, just because I always love this line that's written like this whole bit of Jake, like, he's describing this creepy dream he's having, and there's, like, it sounds so much like a real nightmare that you might be having. Like, it's creepy, and it's sad, and it's weird and unsettling, but also it's like, oh, it was just a dream. But it's still, like, emotionally impactful, and this whole bit in the beginning is written so nicely. And there's this one bit that the Drode says that to me just is almost an iambic. It's not in iambic pentameter, but the rhythm of it is just beautiful, and let me say it. So the Drode is trying to convince Jake to take the deal. And he says, how long till your cousin Rachel loses her grip? You know the darkness is growing inside her. How long till Tobias dies? A bird. How can he ever be happy? Like, those two lines specifically were like, just, beautifully written.
Do you think the Drode is like delivering these lines with like
Shakespearean actor?
1, 2, and 3 sort of fake, like fake thespian? I don't know if that's the right way.
Like an almost like a very theatrical, overpronounced kind of.
Oh, costume drama. That's
a costume drama.
Like,
yeah. I feel like
how
for
long
sure.
till Rachel gives into our darkness, Jake?
Wait, why does the Drode have an Australian accent now?
That was not Australian.
That's a Beatles accent.
That was Star Warsian.
It's the Drode down under, mate. Oh no, time's gotten all whiffy, yeah?
Oh, time done fucked itself in the old didn't it?
I am so sorry, any Australian listeners.
So, Drode says, if you want to take the deal, you can just go, rewind everything, and you don't walk through the construction site. Easy peasy, right? You just have to say 2 words. The first one is Kryak, the second is please. And Jake's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to. And he does. And we start off the book. Cassie and Rachel are shopping in the mall. It's a glorious scene of just girls being friends and roasting each other. And being like, don't look at Jake. And then Jake walks over and Rachel's like, can I look at him now? And it's so funny. It's actually really funny and good, pure friendship. And there's Jake and Marco and Tobias walking out of the arcade, and they meet Rachel and Cassie, and they're like, hey, let's walk home together. Do you want to walk through the construction site or go the longer way around. And they go the longer way around. And after about 10 minutes of just walking in silence, because they're all awkward teens, one of them, oh, what's that, an asteroid? Marco makes a joke, oh, great, an asteroid hits the town and it doesn't even hit the school. And they laugh, and Cassie just gets this weird feeling like something wrong just happened, like something strange is going on.
Ugh. We'll definitely talk about it.
I know you hate this, but
like
that's because you hate Cassie.
But no, it has nothing to do with Cassie. We'll definitely get into it at the end, because obviously it's got a lot to do with the end of the book. So,
well, we all hate Cassie here. Let's get that out of the way.
No, I don't. I love Cassie. Cassie's my favorite. I'm going to kind of talk about this book. So each character has their own little mini arc that they go on, and they don't necessarily interact all the time. So I might describe things out of order, but I'll kind of go through like Tobias's storyline first. So this book skips a couple of days. It goes like day 1 was when they were walking through the construction site. Day 7, we skip later. We jump into Tobias's head. He poor Tobias, God. This book and book 33 are really the ones that we really know what happens in Tobias's life with his shitty family. This one goes into a bit more detail than book 33. In this book, we find out that when he's living with his aunt will actually not let him go to school so that he can stay home and do whatever chores and errands that she thinks that she might need. Whoa. Hashtag relatable, am I right?
There was a lot of detail in that story. I said I wouldn't interrupt. I'm gonna not interrupt.
You're a stronger man than I am, Brayden. So Tobias kind of talks about his shitty life. He talks about how he ran into Jake at the mall, tried to hang out with him for a bit, felt really awkward, and got the vibe that Marco didn't like him. And so stopped, and he's got these 2 bullies with dumb names. Like one of them's called Tay-Tay, and it's like, ugh, high school bullies are the worst. Is it Tay-Tay?
Is it Tay-Tay?
It was Tay-Tay with a Y.
Oh, I must be mistaken that. Never mind.
I'm pretty sure it was Tay-Tay with a Y. Oh man, Taika Waititi was just like in high school bullying this 13-year-old boy.
And don't Taika Waititi too.
Tobias gets the shit fucking.
He really can play any role.
Oh god.
He gets the shit kicked out of him in the bathroom while these 2 bullies, while these 2 other dudes are just standing there watching as his internal organs are being mutilated by this one bully's foot, through kicks, I mean. And they leave, and they're like, you know what? If you ever want to not be a victim or a pathetic loser, come visit us. And they give him a business card to the sharing. And I'm like, why wouldn't you step in and stop the bullies beforehand? I guess because then it wouldn't make it as impactful as when you step in and stop them once Tobias joins the sharing. Because, spoiler alert, he shows up. He has an okay time because nobody makes a big deal about him being there. Because the only thing worse than somebody ignoring him is somebody giving him too much attention, which I totally get. So he hangs out. He gets assigned this guide named Bill, who teaches him pool, who says some weird shit about belonging to a higher purpose or seeing in n-dimensional spaces. And this is also where we find out for the first time that the sharing has a time limit, which I think is a very genius move on the sharing's part. You have to, so you can just join and have fun and come hang out and eat food and go to their beach ball barbecues with the volleyball and all the time, but you only have like a couple of weeks or a month, or they don't tell you when, but at some point they say, okay, now either you become a full member or you stop coming. Like that's your only choice. You either stop hanging out with us or you become a full member. And Tobias is like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna become a full member. And he gets yerked right in the fucking ear, and it sucked. He tries to back out of it because he's being handcuffed to a jacuzzi tub, and he's like, you know what? I'm not comfortable with this. And Bill's like, well, get comfortable, and shoves his head down, and he gets yerked by a little slimy yerk called Odret something, something, something. And the thing about Odret is that he works for Visser 1. Visser 3 thought that this yerk, originally this yerk was supposed to bring orders back from the Council of 13 to be like, yes, continue being sneaky, or nope, you can start just blazing guns and ravaging the streets and firing laser guns into the air and just attacking people anywhere. So Visser 3 is waiting for Odret to get a host so that he can tell him, can I go out guns a-blazing, or do I have to be sneaky? And Odret says, no, you have to be sneaky. It takes maybe a week of Tobias being infested, maybe even less. Like, he gets infested after about, I think, 28 days. And then, like, a week later, he goes to feed, and Visser picks him up and says, you know what, Odrat, I'm thinking you work for Visser 1. So now how about you tell me whether those orders to be sneaky came from the council or if they came from Visser 1. And Odrat's like, yeah, you know what? I'm a big piss baby. You are strong. Please don't kill me. I work for Visser 1, but now I'm betraying her. Can I work for you? Visser 3's like, no, you just betrayed Visser 1. Go die.
Pretty good.
And Tobias gets shot in the head.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
And that's it. It's like he's shot in the head, which kickstarts a whole bunch of other stuff. But before we get to that, Cassie, a week in, is having weird dreams. She's hearing voices, like she hears Axe's cry, doesn't know what it is. She keeps having thoughts about like she walks into the barn in the middle of the night to try and calm herself, and she sees Marco, like, you know, Marco always said that the animals smelled. Wait, Marco's never been here before. What am I talking about? She worries that she's going crazy. She heard about how schizophrenia kicks in when you're a teenager, and she's like, maybe that's this. So she's pretty stressed out. Marco and Rachel are on a field trip. They go to the museum. They are trapped. We'll get into this whole thing. I thought it was going to be cute, and then Marco got really gross about it. But they're being flirty with each other, and then all of a sudden, Marco sees his mom appear in front of him. Just his dead mom is just suddenly there in front of him. They chase after her.
She's still dead in this universe for some reason.
Well,
I guess it wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't change anything. Yeah. He still thinks she's dead, right? Because he's not an Animorph.
Yeah. You're right. All right, I'm not the expert. I'm not the expert.
Classic blunder.
You're off this show. That's my only power.
Fucking goof. You fucking goofed, you goof.
Goofed, you goof. So they run after her to be like, yo, what the fuck? She calls for backup, and Rachel and Marco are suddenly getting shot at with guns. They escape, but not before they get shot at with Draken beams, and they're like, what the fuck? Jake is trying to hang out, live his life. Tom is like, come to the sharing, come on. Jake goes once, feels weird about it. Tom keeps bugging him to go again. He goes, okay, fine, I'll go again. Tobias is there. It's the day that Tobias decides to join the sharing, so they kind of have a little weird conversation about that, and Tobias is like, what, you think you're too cool to join? It's just for us losers? And Jake's like, I didn't mean it like that, but I also don't know how to articulate myself well. Bye. Earlier, Cassie had invited Jake over to study. And when Jake said, no, sorry, I literally just said I was going to go to the sharing, Cassie got weird about it. And was like, I don't know what's up. So now Jake feels weird about the sharing. Well, with Tobias dead, Visser 3 is like, you know what, let's go all guns blazed. But before he can do that, there's an andalite loose in a TV station, because this whole time Axe has been stuck at the bottom of the ocean. He's been sending his messages. He's been practicing against dummies of Hork-Bajir that he makes with sticks that somehow repair themselves, and he talks to himself, and he knows that he is not doing well being alone. He traps a shark and acquires it, swims out. He lands on topside, I think like 2 or 3 weeks into the new timeline, ends up at a mental hospital, eats all their Oreos, calls himself Hey Moron, because that's what everyone calls him, and that's what he thinks his name is now. And when he is told that he can no longer eat Oreos, he's like, all right, bye bitches, I'm gonna go try and save the world. And he breaks into a news station that he knows is recording live at this moment. So this is right when Jake and Tom get back from the sharing, and Tom's like, I just don't understand why you don't like this cool thing that I'm so into. And Jake's like, I just don't understand why you're being so weird about it. Why are you such a butthead? And then Axe is on TV. Tom goes weird. Jake notices this and is like, yo, what the fuck? Sneaks into the backseat of the car as Tom takes off to the TV station. There's a lot of shooting. Jake sees that Tom has a laser gun, which reminds him of that crazy story that Marco told him about people shooting them with laser guns. What the fuck? He hides. At one point, his hand starts changing, and like orange and black fur starts growing on the back of his hand. He's like, what is going on? But then it's gone. Some kind of hallucination. And he sees that they've rounded up everybody on Channel 7, and what is going on? So they're trying to talk about it. I think it's a couple days later, Axe records a video and puts it on all the TV stations except for Channel 7. They're the only ones that can protect against it, and all the other TV stations get hacked and run this little clip of Axe talking about the Yeerks and how people who have been Yeerked are cult controllers. Unfortunately, this is right when Tobias dies, and Visser 3 is like, fuck it, let's go live, let's go wild, let's pull out all of...
We'll do it live!
All the stops are gonna be pulled, all of the holds are gonna be unbarred, let's do it. And Tom, sees Jake talk about the Andalite with Cassie on the phone, and is like, you're coming with me, here's my ray gun, get in the car. Rachel beats him in the face with a baseball bat, and they're running away. Bug fighters are swooping over the city. Jake, Rachel, and Marco meet up, and they're running, trying to escape, and then Drake and beams fire and explode the ground, and Marco dies. So, we're 2 down, 4 to go. Jake, Cassie, and Rachel stick together. They're not going home. They're trying to stay out of sight. They're trying to be quiet and smart. They're at the mall, when suddenly Hork-Bajir are swarming the mall. Rachel has stolen Tom's ray gun, his Drakenbeam, so she's shooting and running. They run into Axe. This is the first time they're all meeting, and they're like, oh my gosh, what? And Cassie is like, Axe, Axe, I know you. I don't know you, but I know that I know you. And they work together. They want to go to the roof to get into a bug fighter to try and kill all the Yeerks. As they're running to the bug fighter, Rachel gets gored by a Hork-Bajir and dies. They run in. Cassie is holding Jake's hand, and Cassie gets hit by a Drakenbeam, and her whole body just vaporizes as Jake is holding her hand. So she dies. They're on the bug fighter. They're avoiding Hork-Bajir. Visser 3 is there.
I thought we were free. I thought we were finally free.
Thought we were finally free, and then Visser 3 is here. And Axe tries to hit him, and he misses, and then Visser 3 is going to kill Axe, but Cassie shoots him with the Drakenbeam and vaporizes his whole, top part of his centaur body.
Oh, yeah. That was, the best part of the whole book.
Cassie is still there. Wait, what? Axe gets the bug fighter off the ground into space, points all of the weapons at the Yeerks, and then the Drode is like, stop. You've ruined everything. And a gorilla shows up in the corner. They're like, what's the gorilla doing here? And Marco's like, I'm a gorilla. And then Tobias...
And the Drode is just forgets to turn off his phone and is just like, you stupid bitch!
Okay.
Yeah, he's just like, I hate you! And he and the Drode and the Elamists are on the ship and arguing, and all of the kids are like, what the fuck is going on? And then they're not, because suddenly they remember, and Jake realizes that he failed. He crumbled, he broke, he agreed to the Cryax deal. And Drode is like, wait, what the fuck, Elamist? You fucking stacked the deck. Out of 6 people, you got 4 little special ones. Cassie is an anomaly. She's some temporally grounded, so she saw the true timeline and was part of the reason why these weird little quirks kept happening the whole time. Tobias is Elfangor's son. Axe is Elfangor's younger brother. And then Marco is Visser 1's host body's son. There's so many. That's so much. That's so many. What the fuck? So Elamist is like, you know what? I'm not the one who paused this reality. You did. So it's up to you if you want to continue our deal or not. And the kids are like, yo, did we do any good? Was it worth it? Well, the Yeerk invasion would have been over sooner, but a lot more life would have been lost. A lot of humans died. All of the kids basically died. It was rough. Which is weird. These kids think man, life sucks right now. If only we didn't walk through the construction site. But now they really get to know how much shittier it would have been if they didn't walk through the construction site. Elamist tells them, don't worry, this was just a one-off. None of you are really going to remember this except for Cassie. She's just going to have bad dreams, and there you go. And the last chapter of the book is Jake lying in bed again, just thinking about that awful mission, about the man who was cold. And the Drode comes to him saying he's got a deal, and Jake is weighing the pros and the cons, and he opens his mouth, and the Drode says,
wait, never mind.
Never mind. No, you know what? Never mind. Forget it. Never mind. And that's the end of the book.
Yeah, I have in my notes that was not...
I mean, it was
that was a...
It was on brand for Jake. Jake books. I don't know, it felt...
The end? What?
Yeah, it just felt how are you going to end it?
The end is kind of a little wet farty.
Yeah, it's what... I mean, either you take out the whole last chapter, basically, or you have a dumb ending. Because it was either Jake saying, no, I do not want that, or it's Drode saying, fuck this. Right?
Well, it didn't have to literally happen in the middle of undercutting a super dramatic moment that was dramatic in the beginning. It's like...
What is it like?
Mikhail, you're a
strong, independent man.
You've seen Antichrist?
Yeah, I've seen Antichrist.
Imagine, that kid is walking off the balcony.
Ugh, yeah.
And then just somebody reaches out, grabs it, and says like a stupid, funny line like, whoops! Oh.
Listen, I understand what you're saying,
close
but
for
Antichrist
comfort.
was not about time travel. I mean, it would have been amazing if it was about time travel, but it wasn't.
It's not about the time travel. It's about the undercutting of a moment that is dramatic. Like, they didn't have to repeat that moment.
I think that
it completely undercuts the reusing of that moment. Like,
I would disagree. I think it's almost like it shows that Jake would have made the same decision no matter what. Like, they almost could have kept replaying the tape, and Jake would have always chosen to reverse time if given the choice. So instead, they're just like, you know what? Never mind.
But of course he would have, because he has no new information. Only the Drode has new information.
Only the Drode has the new information. Yeah,
Right,
but
so
it's,
it's not a roll of the dice. It's like, we already know what will happen up to this point. The only person who can change the situation is the Drode. Which is why the time travel part is dumb. Because, like, Braden, your point totally makes sense. Like, why would they even include this? Because it just makes a farce of the whole thing, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it would have played really well if it was like, okay, and then they all return to Earth, and it's like, yeah, that's how a lot of Animorphs book ends, actually.
Is that it ends? I feel like if it ended with a goof, especially because this one was so gory, like,
yeah,
so many people are dying.
Yeah, the death is pretty intense in this one.
It's really intense. And, like...
It was something.
Also, I just want to say, isn't it nice just to have the kids talk about their lives without being like, I can't tell you my real last name. Oh, man. Like Cassie could just describe the barn and what her parents do for a job without like, oh, yeah, but I use animals. I use their powers to fight the Yeerks. Like, without that whole cloud hanging over it. Like, you just see them be normal kids, for lack of a better word, right? Without, just enjoying it.
I think, okay, and this is me, like, I don't know. I don't think this would make sense, but I feel like this book would have been a way better Animorphs #1 for me as an adult. As a kid, I think it would have been too confusing.
There'd have to be some pretty hard and fast changes. One, they'd have to find a way to work in morphing. To make it the beginning of a story, they'd have to work in morphing.
Yeah, to make it the beginning of a series.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I don't mean literally this book replacing #1. I mean, like, the way that they approach the story and the universe is better. Where it's like, we're noticing weird shit. And, like, it's not like we walk in and an alien explains everything to us.
Yeah.
It's like, well, fuck. Okay, well, I guess there's no, like, discovery for the reader then. It's just... But I mean, again, it's for kids, so
it's
obviously
well, and also
you have to have that, right?
Like, Catherine and Michael have grown as authors now. They've written just so many more books than they did when they first started, just by virtue of the series of existing for so much longer. So I don't know if they would have been able to have that nuance if they tried it in the beginning. Like, I get what you're saying. This is a really good opener for a series, but I don't know.
Okay. I don't think that Catherine and Michael were, like, unable to write something for an older audience when they released Animorphs #1.
But I
think they purposefully pitched it as for, like, 13-year-olds.
No,
and this would not play for 13-year-olds at all.
Actually, the book series is for 9 to 12-year-olds. It's for even younger. Because, like, your protagonists are always, they usually pitch the protagonists to be a little bit older than the age of the people reading it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, I totally get what you're saying, and I agree, but I don't know. I just love this. I love this book, just seeing it from another point of view, like a what if situation, is so interesting to me, and this one was done so fucking well. Just like they still figured it out, because the Yerks are actually fucking obvious about the sharing being really creepy. Like, they ask for your sin number in the very first meeting. Tobias, please don't give a cult your sin. Come on.
Well, it's SSN. They're Americans. I don't know what his sin number is.
Your social identification number. That's like
what?
That's like the number.
That's not what it's called
like,
in the States.
when you're born, you know the Human Genome Project?
Okay, go explain this to me. Yeah.
That was done so that they could withdraw some of your DNA and figure out what your number is in your DNA. So they know who you are, and that goes on your government file. That's your sin number.
I thought your sin number was like whether you were gluttony. What are the other ones?
No, but if you practice any of those, then it gets added to your sin number. Like, if you get arrested for a crime, your sin number goes up.
That's why it's only like 8 numbers, because DNA is
there's only 8 kinds of DNA.
So simplistic.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's like a checkbox. So when you reach the pearly gates, it's like, holy fuck, this guy's a 33, because it's 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 + 5 + 6 + 7.
Yeah,
that's not 33, but whatever the total is for
then
that.
you're super sinner. Yep.
Yeah. Super sinner.
Super sinner.
Exactly.
Super
Nazi.
Okay.
Anyways,
Let's talk.
I don't know that there's much we can talk about that, because the answer is always like, kids. It's for kids.
It's
so
for
it
kids.
Wouldn't work.
Yeah.
What I will say is I liked this a lot better.
We can interpret the shit out of it until we're fucking dead, but the point is that it will be, if we do that, it will be an endless exercise.
It is a more interesting book written for kids, which I will say, like, it is. I agree with Mikhail. It's like it gives more benefit to the doubt of the readers. Like, the first book, Animorphs #1, is like, like you said, here's an alien explaining everything. This one, they're figuring it out. Like, if this was a kid's first Animorphs book, yeah, they would be confused. But also, holy shit, they would probably want to read the rest of the series right away.
Exactly. And I think, like, there is a way to work in, like, fuck the time travel, forget all that stuff. There is easily a way to work in the construction site at the end, which is like, hey, we like found out all this crazy shit, and instead of us randomly walking through the construction site, it's like that's
the choice.
Like, they all ended up in the same place at the end anyways, right? So they could easily write a way for them to all end up at the construction site. Anyways, this is kind of like what I wanted Visser to be. Visser was a little bit like still a little bit dumbed down, I think, kind of.
Yeah, it was not
totally,
as...
but it was like, it was defamiliarizing stuff to the point of like, oh my god, like, it was sand. Like, just say, you know it's like the Middle East. Just say it's the Middle East, right?
Like, you're Yerk. You probably know what sand is. It's that thing that doesn't feel good when it touches your sluggy little body.
Gets everywhere. I hate sand.
Till the end of time, till the heat death of the universe. Marco and Rachel flirting. I wanted to be into it, and then he was super creepy.
It's the 90s. You gotta take me and Mikhail. We gotta take what we can get.
Nah, I'm
It's like it was
okay. Well,
it was
fuck
cute,
you.
and then
we were blood.
Yeah,
he kept
I mean, like,
using
I'm
all
not
this pickup artist lingo, and it just made me so creeped out. Like, wait, I've heard grown men try to use these
Here's
lines on me.
Here's the thing: the grown men are taking it from Marco, not the other way around. Because this is how a kid thinks that, like, that.
This is true.
Pickup artistism isn't a childish idea of courtship. It is literally how children think courtship works, by making yourself seem an impressive specimen
while making them feel bad about themselves as you tease them. Yeah, it's gross. I mean, like, just because I am not on the Marco Rachel thing anymore, it doesn't mean I'm on the Tobachel train either,
yeah,
because that obviously doesn't make any sense.
I get it.
Tobachel is a bit better, I think, but I mean, he's just like, it is the 90s. I don't think it's like forgivable because it isn't the 90s anymore.
It's explainable, but it reads as so, like, because I remember reading this as a kid and being like, oh, cute flirting, and then reading it now, it has been colored with my adult eyes it reads as super creepy, like, oh, she's trapped in here. Or, oh, I'm just going to refer to women as females. Or what was some other creepy shit he said?
I blocked it out.
There was a lot of it. I was like,
but
oh,
then
no.
when they're like chasing Visser 1, they both of them think about each other in terms of like, oh, I admire that person's qualities. Like Marco can think on his feet.
Yeah.
Rachel's not scared to just jump into shit. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff you should be saying out loud, not just thinking.
Not just weird little like pickup lines. This is the stuff you should be. No, but of course, I mean, they're kids and they're just kind of.
Wait, you think he should open with. You think, like, instead of saying, like, so, come here often, he should have said, that's my mom, we need to chase her.
No.
Obviously.
That should have been his opening line.
I was saying after the race.
After the race. That's when you're like, you know what? It was really cool how you were.
Hold on.
So focused.
Hold on. Let me get a second take of that. So you're saying instead of just, like, opening with, like, hey, come here often, you should have been like, that's my mom, we need to chase her. And then
how is that different from the first take?
Yeah, that's exactly what you did in the first take.
I was less centered on the mic.
Oh, it was such. Oh, okay, that was for future Mikhail. That was a gift for future Mikhail.
Okay.
Aw, thanks, Brayden. That's so cute.
I love you.
This is gonna sound bad. Cassie does seem like her only good attribute, or her only like massive contribution to the team is like have you guys seen Rick and Morty? You know how like when Rick takes Morty along and then eventually on every mission he takes Morty along, even though Morty's a fucking lump and does nothing. You find out later that the reason Rick is doing that is because Morty has like brainwaves that protects Rick from being seen by sensors.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like. It's like Cassie is there because her DNA has something where like it can save them from situations like this, or it can hear thought speak. Not because she like has talents, but she just like has DNA, special DNA, basically.
Rachel, you are a fierce warrior. Jake, you are a great leader. Marco, you are incredibly clever. On and on and on. The joke ends with Cassie. You showed up.
You got the good stuff, and by that I mean your DNA. Even if you didn't have access to animals, you'd still be useful. No, I think, like, I don't know, because it never really explained in book 4 why Cassie also was the one to get Axe's brainwaves, right? So I think the reason is because she's subtemporally grounded. So she already, like, even in the main timeline, she already knew there's one more person who's supposed to join us. And so, you know, like, her essence was able to pick up the mind waves. And also because they already had a Tobias book. He was related to the Andalite, and they needed to have somebody who could morph a dolphin to go save Axe. And it'd be stronger if it came from someone who heard from him. So, I feel like they had a couple reasons why they had to have Cassie receive the Axe's help me vibes, and they just made up this subtemporal grounding thing to explain all of it. Does that make sense?
It does, because obviously there's no answer to everyone's dying and like it's an alternate timeline and you chose to be here. There's no answer to that other than Deus Ex Machina. You have magic body skin and you can tell when it's not the original timeline. And it's like, I don't know, because if you think about like how multiverse theory works, it's like there is no original timeline, just the timeline you came from, I guess, in this situation. In my mind, it wasn't like
there is no multiverse. There's just prime and then there's secondary.
There's definitely multiverse everywhere in every book.
Nope. There's just prime and secondary. Yep.
Because my impression of this wasn't that they actually took Animorphs from Prime Universe and put them in Subprime Universe. My impression was we're just following a different group. We're just following a different.
What happened?
No, I'm assuming we're just like in another dimension where.
Oh. No.
I think that would have been like better in a like science fiction kind of way, but it would have it wouldn't have worked because they all die, right?
Because they all die.
Yeah, here's the thing though. That can't be how it happens because the Elemist and Krayax back and forth is like inherently dependent on the idea that there is one condition for them. They can change time, they can go back in time and mess with stuff, but there is one result at the end. Not like Otherwise, why
Yeah.
wouldn't Krayak just like, okay, I'm gonna go find a dimension without the Ellimist in the way? Or why wouldn't the Ellimist just be like, I'll go find a dimension? Because, like, I don't see... Yeah, it can't be that there just is another dimension that exists simultaneously. It's just that... It's that... there is the possibility of all these other things happening, but there's one thing that did happen in the natural progression of the universe, and Cassie is grounded in that more natural progression.
Yeah, she's in like the true one. I feel like maybe everybody else almost has mini multiverses, but Cassie only has like one choice that she would make. And so she's like, there's no multiverse for her, and then anything interacting with her is going to be sucked into Prime.
I mean, I do realize
time.
also that I'm asking a lot from a book like designed for a young audience. But I mean, like, obviously this is the bigger problem with time travel just in general. So like, I can't complain because it's my same complaint for every time travel book.
I think they do it in an interesting way, though, with it being like a prime time, and, you know, they get on it right at 6:30 p.m. when everybody's watching.
yeah. And it sweeps also. Yeah, I don't know. I did think it was a cop-out. I would have, like, almost preferred it to be like a what if kind of situation with no pretext at all. Yeah. Like, no Drode shit, no other stuff.
Don't worry, there's a couple of what ifs coming up later that might be fun.
But not the Sario Rip garbage where it's like fucking book number 11 where it's like, and it didn't matter because you went back and everything was the same. I just mean like literally a book where it's like, have you ever wondered what it would be like?
Have you ever wondered if they were all Andalites and Axe was the human?
And it's a different planet. And it's a different story.
Speaking of what if, can we just for a second imagine an Andalite in a spacesuit?
If an Andalite could wear a spacesuit, would it wear it like this?
Or like this?
And it's, I don't know.
Whoa.
I would imagine it's like a force field.
Send us your Animorph spacesuit fan art on Twitter, please.
It's probably just a force field, right? It's not actually a suit.
Oh my gosh. Can you, but because they don't wear clothes. So why would they wear clothes out in space?
Why would they say suit, though? Why wouldn't they just say, like, force medallion?
Because that makes no sense.
A force field isn't a suit. I'm saying, like, the force field comes out of the medallion.
Maybe they like, but
Yeah.
maybe this is Catherine and Grant who learned their mistake from the sand thing from Visser. So they just called it a spacesuit to be like, whatever, fuck it. Andalites will call it a spacesuit, even though they don't wear clothes ever. But Andalites should wear scarves.
I mean, they also, like, they use a lot of, like, that's not the first time they've done it.
No, that's not the first time they've done it.
Yeah, this alien thing just has a human name because I don't want to explain.
Yeah,
what
it's
it
just going to be
actually
called
is.
Kevin.
Sure, the Space Kevin. Yeah.
Another thought experiment is picture your friend Bill from the sharing coming up to you and giving you an arm's length hug. That's like, I read that as a hug at arm's length. How would you do that? How weird was Bill before he got yerked? Because yerks try to act like how the humans acted before, for the most part. So Bill, before he got yerked, was the kind of kid who would go around giving people hugs at arm's length. Why?
I mean, like, Bill does talk about his story, and like, for the first time, I was like, maybe there's something to this yerk business, because he says like, yeah, I was gonna kill myself, but then I got yerked, and it was like I didn't kill myself.
Not depressed anymore, hey?
Which isn't to say that, like, I mean, he was probably still very much depressed. Actually, you know what? Fuck the yerks. I don't know what I'm talking about. Obviously, he's still depressed inside his brain,
inside his head, but he also has something to fight against.
No. Because we know there are willing, like,
controllers,
hosts who get they get like Coke and steak when they're free instead of being put in a cage. So like, maybe he's like, yeah, my life has purpose now. Like, there was a lot of shit that I just like couldn't bring myself to do because of depression, or that I never felt confident doing.
That's true.
That just like the yerk does. And like, yeah, it kind of sucks that like I don't get to move my arms, but I'm still there. I'm still experiencing it.
And maybe if you feel like
actually, being a yerk sounds fucking awesome. Holy shit.
I said it in book number 1, I would totally volunteer.
Oh no. Brayden's back to being the David of the group.
And I could see if like being yerked brought you out of a depressive state, how you would feel like others should do the same. The thing that also Bill probably does is recruiting people. The thing that Bill probably doesn't do is ripping faces off of people when they like disobey you.
No,
which
I don't think so.
Does happen, but Bill probably has never seen.
Probably not. This talk about the Bill's depressive episode reminds me of when Tobias, like, he just gets yerked, and now he's sitting there thinking about all of the things he could have done instead of join the sharing, instead of become a full member. All of the things he could have done to, like, endure and be okay. And that just really, the language in that moment, in that chapter, reminded me of, like, people who jump off bridges and survive and then talk about how, yeah, as soon as I jumped off the bridge, I realized there was something else that could be done. Like, becoming a controller was almost, without it meaning to, it was almost Tobias's way of committing life as suicide, like not to kill himself, but just to completely change his life, which is very similar to what he did as a hawk, to get stuck as a hawk. That was kind of like a life suicide.
It was kind of like a rebirth. I think life suicide is a weird way of saying it. It's like purposely choosing a path that you would never be able to choose before. Yeah. Because you're suddenly given the opportunity, right? I mean, to be fair, also, like, and we don't have to talk about this at all, but Tobias could have run away from home without not living as a hawk. I know he didn't do it on purpose, but he definitely
could have. I just feel like he didn't think that was an option even. He didn't even think that was a thing that could be done.
Like, Mikhail, running away from home doesn't, like, when you are a hawk and you have no other option, like, I can see that that's something that can happen, but, like, actually running away from home just makes you a homeless person.
Well, and also it could be a way, like, I mean, Tobias seems like a good kid. Like, he doesn't talk back to teachers. That's, like, you know, like, he had a lot of options that he didn't even think of. Like, he could have just started yelling at a teacher and punched he could have punched a teacher in the face. What is it with you and abusing teachers?
That's a sign of moral strength.
Yeah. I'm the David of the group.
I mean, yeah. Tobias has never been pictured as like a bad person, even though he's been through a lot, which I think is maybe the whole thing that makes him moral or relatable in some way. Right?
It's more like the more what I was getting for. I think why Tobias didn't think about running away was because he didn't think that was an option. Like how. You know, you don't think that you can punch a teacher until you see a kid just up and punch a teacher, and you're like, wait a second, we can do that?
Leave these teachers alone.
You're not supposed
Jesus
to.
Christ.
But we can do that?
Speaking of choices, bad segue.
Segue.
They definitely chose to call Visser 3's human morph Mr. Visser.
Which is the worst. Just call him Mr. Lipinski. After Eugene Lipinski.
Also, doesn't that mean that literally...
What are you saying about Eugene Lipinski?
Like, it's a more human name than Mr. Visser.
Also, well, I mean, Mr. Visser's a real last name, but also...
Is it?
Don't you think that everybody, like, they're like, well, we don't think there's Andalite spies here, but if there was... Nah, there probably isn't. Let's just name ourselves after, like, ranks in our military and go around talking about it
that's a bad military practice to just call them. So any Andalite spies that have snuck into the sharing, this one that we call Mr. Visser is the head honcho. Although, I mean, none of the Yerks are good with subtlety, mainly because Visser 3 wields his power like an iron bat, and they would have deferred to him anyway and been like scared of him. So any Andalite spies that were in the sharing would have already figured out that Mr. 3 was important, even if he was called Mr. 3 and not Mr. Visser.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, Mr. 3 sounds like a fucking spy's name.
I know.
I think that's a good point, though, of like what Visser 3 normally does, because I think maybe the most like world building thing of the whole thing was the scene when they were infesting Tobias. And right after the Visser is like, what, this, you go through this every time? This doesn't seem like the best, because Tobias fights back, obviously, and who wants hosts that fight? That's not the point. But then he's like, something like 71% of people actually do it willingly. That's like,
if they had that conversation beforehand, and it's just like, wow.
That actually makes sense why the like Council of 13, whoever, is not letting Visser 3 do it. Because we've seen what it's like when the fucking hosts can't be controlled. So if you have a willing host, overall... But it does raise the question of, like, at what point would they just be like, okay, we have, like, 30% of the world, fuck it. And then they just bring in the military. Like, what is the threshold for where they stop the subtle approach? Because they would be outnumbered, right?
And I don't know if there was a threshold. I think the Council of 13 would have been perfectly happy with doing the secret approach the whole time. It's just that Visser 3 had such a big boner for guns and glory that he wanted to make some things go explode. So he keeps bringing it up, and they're just like, no, just wait. Just wait.
Well, especially if he's got Alaran's voice in his, or like instincts, because Alaran was definitely the same thing. It was just like, well, we don't have to save them if they're all dead.
If they're all dead.
Yeah.
Like, they can't oppose us if they're all dead.
Yeah, but even like our mission of protecting the Dork-Bajir could be over in a second. It's a real like AI learning thing where it's like, oh yeah, my mission is to feed humans, but if there was no humans, my mission would be over indefinitely, and that's my only goal.
My mission would be complete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I want to have like a bunch of willing hosts. Well, if I threaten the humans with either a yerk or death, I'd have a lot of willing hosts. There you go. It's a win-win-win.
I don't have to save you either.
What was that?
It was Batman.
Oh,
The
okay.
Dark Knight.
Oh, that was good, yeah. Did you like, I think Brayden appreciated this more than more than Tessa maybe, just because have you read the Elemist Chronicles, Tessa?
Yes, I have. I've only read it once, and it fucked me up, so I'm excited for when we get to it again.
Okay, don't answer this, but I really hope, but I'm like pretty doubtful that they'll revisit what the Drode said to the Elemist, which was like, hey, you got your way in the Phalakadrat situation. Let me have this. And then it was like, they never talk about what that is, but I desperately need to know what the fuck that was. Because does that mean they've tried the time travel thing before? Or like, anyways.
I mean, Mikhail,
Yeah.
parse it together. Phalakadrat?
Mm-hmm.
Phalakadrat?
Keep going.
It's just a bunch of dicks in space, dude. Come on.
Dicks in space.
Dicks in space!
Probably.
It's the new Star Wars movie. Dicks in
Yeah.
space.
Galaxy's End of a penis.
Galaxy's rear end.
Oh, good one. That was good. Good.
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
That's the tagline. That's no moon.
That's no moon.
Daddy's tight little ass.
The death.
Get over here,
The
Daddy.
Death Star fish. Like a butthole. As a starfish.
Michaela, I love it when you awkwardly explain your jokes, just in the hopes that someone will laugh then.
Well-
That's my favorite part.
I mean, it works 1% of the time, every time. Also, this book made me really want, like, not want necessarily, but appreciate the Drode a little bit more as a, like, ultra powerful minion of just being like,
As a wild card?
well, he's not a fucking
Yeah.
dog. I'm glad they didn't mention that this time because it was like they
Yeah, I'm
realized
totally
they
glad
were
they
using
didn't
that
mention
Yeah,
word
because that doesn't
wrong.
That just doesn't make sense in this context.
It never made any sense in any of the contexts. Hey, I'm a guy who serves like another guy with a really specific aim, but he hired me because he doesn't know what I'm going to do. It's like, no, that doesn't make sense.
I'm a wild bitch.
I'm the wild card. It's like, no, you have like, you probably write a 10-point paper before you do anything. You know exactly what you're doing. It's just wild to the rest of us because you haven't told us what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe he thinks everything is wild, but actually it's like, well, actually makes a lot of sense.
It's just wild to the Drode. In whatever like creature's culture he's the wild card because he's green and purple and everybody else is like red and blue. And he's like, yeah, I'm a wild card. And everyone's like, no, okay,
All right, calm down.
calm down.
Yeah, he's like, douches are wild. It's like, I told you, we're not playing with that rule. Stop saying that.
Stop saying that.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't go over everyone's death because some of them were pretty intense.
Yeah.
They were described so brutally also.
Except for
like, they
Tobias,
just
where it was just
except for even Tobias, he felt a little bit of pressure in his head, and then I think his sentence just like cuts off halfway through.
yeah, that was actually like pretty dark because they haven't really done anything like that before where the narration ends abruptly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's ever really died before. Marco did in book 10, but he got better.
Yeah, he got better. He died, but
And
he got
then
better.
like,
Rachel died narrating too, didn't she?
yep,
Oh.
she died while narrating. She was like, everything is moving, spinning, stops.
Oh, you mean like, yeah. I think the only person who didn't die in the narration is Marco.
Cassie.
Cassie didn't die.
Yeah, Marco and
no.
Cassie died while it was somebody else's narration.
But the way that Rachel describes it when Marco dies is like, he blew up and then he looked like he was sleeping. Anyways,
was
Jake
just
is
lying on
sobbing
his
because his
back.
best friend is dead now. It's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Well, he looked like he was chillaxing on the beach.
Yeah.
I think what she saw was that he was lying down on his back, but I think his whole my I don't know, my idea was that his whole head or his whole face is gone. Like there's something obviously wrong with him, and Rachel just can't process it. She just sees, oh, his shoes are pointing up. He's lying on his back. Like he's relaxing.
Oh.
And she's like in shock because her new boyfriend is dead.
I assumed it was that also, where it's like her brain, having never seen someone die before, can't even imagine that someone could be dead.
Yeah.
So she just goes to like, he's sleeping. I mean, tons of kids think that also. Like when they first have a family member die or something.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's sleeping.
It doesn't help when the parents are like,
This cat
he's
is
sleeping
sleeping.
forever. It's like, that's not helpful. Don't tell your kids that.
Eternal sleep.
Even Big Bird had to learn that people die at the age of 26.
Oh man, that was rough too.
When Bert and Ernie massacred the entire cast of Sesame Street.
No, when Snuffleupagus died of prostate cancer.
Imaginary prostate cancer. Oh, why, Big Bird, why did you imagine cancer as being real in this?
I'm sorry. I learned about the concept of death and I couldn't help myself. It's a corruption in my world of imagination.
It runs in my family, and I wanted to see what it would look like.
Snuffy just kept going into, he just kept going into the radiation chambers. He just kept getting MRIs without a lead sheet.
God is dead, and we have killed him.
Snuffleupagus is God.
Yeah, he's a Snuffleupagod.
Next week, in our bi-weekly episode of The Speaking Tree, we'll be discussing how would we have dealt with seeing the axe transmission on TV, followed by the invasion of the Yeerks right after, which is a bit broad, but obviously we'll go into the details next week. Also, how would we have used morphing to help a kid who you know is being constantly bullied, which is sort of a Jake Tobias question. We'll also be talking about instead of doing a My Life, My Morph about the zero morphs that happened in this book, we'll be talking about what would happen if in a similar situation you went back to a timeline where you hadn't read Animorphs yet and you didn't know that you had read it in another timeline. That's a bad way of saying that, but you get what I'm saying.
What if it's like if you erased the idea of reading Animorphs from your brain right now at the age you are right now at this day, would you read Animorphs?
Oh, okay, that makes way more sense.
If you'd never read it before, would you read Animorphs as you are right now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the question is more, do you believe you would? Because, you don't, that person doesn't have any idea.
Yeah, it's hard. You can't read alternate futures. Yeah, I get you.
The question is also going to happen next week, so we'll talk about it more then. In the meantime, where can people find our business?
You can find our business in the toilet and also on collectivelegacy.org or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else... Oh, wait, never mind.
Oh, I get it. You can show your support for our show. You know what? Never mind.
Oh, no.
Patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and never mind.
We like to give a shout out to our patrons at the Dork-Bajir level or higher by giving them an Animorphs stanky title, starting with...
Big thank you to Nick, Colin. I think you're just sleeping.
Spencer, ray guns, not flashlights.
Martha Urquhart, I got the strap. The alien strap.
Elemist, tell me what happened in the phallic hadrat situation.
Andrew Vila, holding your girlfriend's hand as she is vaporized.
Mariah Wamby, oh, never mind.
Greg Della Posta, the subtemporal, which I can't believe no one's done yet in this list.
Oh. Anne-Marie Ellis, watching a documentary about DNA that you do not care about while getting your flirt on.
Steam Driven, Oh, fuck. I smell McDonald's.
Shanna, Colin acts as really poor, unfortunate doctor in that one place he went to.
Zachary Vaudo, Colin, getting cut off from Oreos.
Michael Armenta, Mountain Dew.
And Yanka, Colin, so you come here often, or what? For the Flirtomorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the sexpert.
And I'm Braden, also a sexpert.
And this has been Flirtomorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles. Listen, we did Dick Bajir.
Donk bajonk. That honky tonk. Badonk bajonk.
That
Now I want McDonald's, Braden. Good God.
Oh shit,
I should go
the
for a Happy Meal with
Dong-Bajir.
extra happy.
Dong Bajir.
Dong Bajir.
That would have been good.
Dong Lover Bajir Chronicles.
Well, the Dong,
The Dick Boy Jeer Chronicles.
the Dong Boob Jeer. No, that's not good.
Dong Boobjeer Chronicles. The Dong Boobjeer Cockinals.
Cockinals, yeah. Testicles, not the.
Testicles. The Dong Boobjeer Testicles.
What do you want to eat right now? Jinx. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Sophie. And this is
We Watch Food.
a podcast all about the food we like to watch.
We'll talk all about the best, the craziest, and the tastiest TV, movies, and YouTube channels.
Not to mention trendy food fads and sumptuous food trivia.
Plus, we end every episode with a recipe from one of us.
So join us every Saturday for a new episode and a new insight into what makes us watch so much food.
You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, as well as a bunch of other awesome podcasts.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at We Watch Food.
And on Twitter at WeWatchFoodPod. So I've been Mitch.
I'm Sophie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy.
a podcast network.